One of the interesting things about Myanmar is that a lot really isn't known about the fish species that live there, especially the freshwater fish species. And there hadn't been a lot of research on freshwater fish in Kachin State since the time of the British occupation of Myanmar in the 1800s. Fauna and Flora International did some of the first studies, in over 100 years. They have been working in many different regions of Myanmar on a variety of projects to protect local biodiversity.
Our projects aims to establish of the community forestry and also the fish conservation zone and also the biodiversity in here. This project is very important for this area because most of the fish abundance, fish populations are declining due to the overfishing. I think next 10 or 5 years, if without protecting the fish, most of the fish will be gone.
For effectively conserve the biodiversity, we need to conserve first the habitats. So if we cannot protect very effectively the habitats, biodiversity cannot survive for a long time.
Transfer sticker?
He's on airways.
Jeremy and I both work at FISHBIO, which is a fisheries consulting company that focuses on fisheries research, monitoring, and conservation. And we have offices in California and Southeast Asia. FISHBIO has several years of experience of working with local communities in Laos and helping them to establish fish conservation zones that are managed by the community themselves in partnership with the local government. And FFI had a big interest in wanting to learn from our experience in Laos and to see if we could apply any of the lessons that we'd learned, share some of the examples of our work with the communities in Myanmar. Our agreement with FFI was that FISHBIO would come for 2 years of surveys as part of their project to document the fish biodiversity of the upper Irrawaddy Basin. And so Indaji Lake was the first part of that trip. For the second year of the project, we went even higher into the Irrawaddy watershed. This trip was working with communities at a very early stage of the fish conservation zone process to talk about the idea of fish conservation zones with these communities for the first time, and also to actually do some fish surveys so we could document which fish species were in the area, trying to find where were the hot spots of fish biodiversity.
The FFI mission for this trip, that is to dialogue with the community to start establish fish conservation zones in this area. Now we are now here to Dao. We'll overnight here at Chesangong.
Okay.
And this is Wasardam. And this is a very high mountain here. From here to here, it takes about 8 hours.
Walking.
From here to here, less than 8 hours.
Oh, okay, so just getting over that mountain is the big challenge. And is that the border with India?
This is India, like India.
Okay. Wow, so we're very close to Himalayas or...
This is in Himalaya.
Comes the rest of the stuff.
Got a little rain that came in.
I don't know.
Erin's fear is the river crossing. Our lead there, he kind of described that we were going to go up and over that mountain, and I'd seen this mountain and it wasn't too far away, and it was like I was focused in on the wrong mountain. We got to the top of that mountain, I was like, how much further? And I was told another half hour. We went up in like 1,600 feet in elevation, and then down 2,000 feet in elevation on the other side of the mountain.
So we ended up walking about 30 miles before we even started any of our surveys, and this was over the course of a few days.
We are now in Ziyardam. This is the last village in the northwestern part of Myanmar, very close to India border. Yes, this village is situated in the Pombo National Park. Very good primary forest in the watershed, and the stream is like intact situation. We would like to conserve some areas in collaboration with the community. Yes.
Here's where we're staying for the next few days. Yeah, it's nice and warm here by the fire. So today's Wednesday. We arrived on Sunday, and basically everything from then until now has just been trying to reach this spot. So it's pretty incredible. We're really out there. It's really remote. And then we crossed some really beautiful scenery, some just beautiful rivers, lots of rocks, and the water level's pretty low because it's the dry season, but went over some very interesting bridges. Didn't fall. It was good. So excited to see more tomorrow for our first real day of surveying after all this time. So the adventure continues.
We buy bags of rice, they make bags of rice.
Suiting up here for our first day of electrofishing. Making data labels for today. For our electrofishing sampling. Here's our electrofishing guide.
This is your guide. He's very familiar with this area. You know where is a good fish habitats.
So what is our plan for today?
Today is 11 February 2016. Now we'll start from Ziyardam to the upstream, and the distance is about 1 hour walking range. And then there is one confluence. We are going to start electrofishing there.
So we still had to walk on our survey days for several miles just to get to the sampling site. You know, it helped me understand why we really don't know that much about some of these remote locations, because it's just so logistically challenging to get there. And once you get there, the time that you have is really limited and valuable, so you just try to do the best you can in the short time that you have. So the goal of this survey was to collect fish samples that could be used and identified for fish taxonomy. So we were mostly just collecting the fish in the field, and then they would have experts to identify them to species later.
It was determined that e-fishing would be the best means of capturing the largest variety of fish there, just due to the terrain and the water velocities. You know, we spend usually just about an hour e-fishing at each site, try to hit like 3 sites a day. Basically just get numbers of species captured and links of the ones that we did capture.
So we came and surveyed in this area last July 2015, and we stay here for about 10 days. We have recorded about 5 new species in this area. So those species are new species for the science. So that is very important. If we cannot conserve this area, probably those fish will be lost. Nobody will know what kind of species has occurred in this area. Therefore, we discussed and then we came back with FISHBIO and start dialogue with the community to conserve this area. Yes.
Wow, we are currently on our way to Palen village, and the goal is to have an awareness meeting with their community. We had just planned to talk to these two communities, but ended up talking to a third one. Once the communities found out that FFI was in the area, they all wanted us to come and talk about fish conservation zones with their village, even if we hadn't planned to originally.
He established this village since 1969. Yes. So when we arrived here in 1969, a lot of fish can be seen in the water. The fish are layer by layer, so cannot see to the bottom, cannot see the rocks at that time. Now that kind of fish population cannot be seen. If conserved properly with us, so those kind of fish population can be seen in the water hidden that. But the main problem that is migrant fishers from the other areas. They come and use electric fishing extensively. That's a big problem. In every meetings, local villagers explain us that is a big problem for them. They think that this is a main problem to decline the fishery resources in their area. Yes.
To my surprise, all the villagers were actually on the same page, and they really wanted to take action on preserving what they had and reviving it to what they had before. They'd tried to set up some on their own in the past, but the problem they'd have is, okay, it's a conservation zone for this village here, but the other villages wouldn't recognize it. So we kind of got them all collaborating together and group discussions to try to get the local villages of the area to agree on certain spots, and then later FFI is going to bring it through the Fisheries department and into the government and actually try to get a law passed.
As part of the meetings, similar to like we've done in Laos, we asked the communities to draw a map of the area and show where are the areas where they fish and where are the areas that they would like to establish the fish conservation zones. And so that we could compare these areas among the different villages and compare it with the fish survey data that FFI had collected, and just try to find what is the best location to put the fish conservation zone. Since we can't protect the whole river, what are those key places where there's either high fish diversity or we think the fish are spawning or reproducing that are the most important to try to protect.
The new species.
Oh, this is
the new species.
This is
the. Yeah.
Oh, this is the species. The one that's new to science that they discovered
Another one in here.
last time.
Okay.
Take a good photo of that.
The Schistera genus that they discovered in some of their earlier surveys in this region. So today is Sunday, February 14th. A little bittersweet to have this be our final day out and about. I got to actually get in the water for our last survey. We found a spot that was more of a slow-moving creek, and it was a nice change of pace to get out in the river and actually catch some fish. And being in that different habitat, we caught a lot of species that we hadn't seen before on this trip. I think it goes well together to be looking at the natural resources, the habitat, the fish species that we're trying to protect, and then interacting with the communities that are actively catching these fish for their food. Yesterday we saw a little boy with a mask looking in the water for fish. Later he walked by and had his little spear and his mask was full of fish, some of these same fish that we've been catching, only so big, but he's catching them, probably taking them home where somebody can cook them up and they'll eat them. So nothing goes to waste here, so every fish counts.
We encountered 11 species today, all new to me, all very interesting. My goal today is to eat as much food as possible to prepare myself for tomorrow's hike out, which will probably be the most enduring hike of the trip. It's 12 miles out, a little more uphill tomorrow than when we came in, so we'll see. Really looking forward to getting back to civilization for a nice warm shower and some clean clothes.
Tunes on the trail. I really hope that as a result of the work that FISHBIO and FFI are doing in Myanmar around fish conservation zones, that this idea of community-managed protected areas in freshwater environments gains a real foothold in the country. All the protected areas are designated by the government, but FFI is working with the government, holding meetings, trying to introduce this idea of allowing the community to have some role and authority in the actual management process.
Now it's still kind of early in the development there, and if they take precautions along the way, they can, manage their fisheries so future generations can enjoy it as well. I hope to see the government recognize the importance of the conservation zones and help the local villages implement that and actually give them the support they need to enforce the laws regarding the conservation zones.
Future, the fishing and conservation zone will be come out, taking off the ground, and then they will do the patrolling in this area together with the government staff. So, and then if they can start this project as soon as possible, and then the fish will be recovered in this area.
I hope that there's an appreciation for allowing these fish, to live in their natural environment, because actually a lot of the fish in Myanmar are harvested for the aquarium trade. People recognize how unique and valuable they are, but we need to protect them in the wild as well. And so I hope that by people getting to see these unique environments, and even if they never get a chance to go there, they can appreciate the value of protecting these special places.
Fisheries is very important for Myanmar. If we cannot develop or if we cannot establish fish conservation zones in Myanmar, in freshwater or in the marine, that will affect to the local communities in camp. So this is very, very important for the future, for the country and for the people, yes.